I'm Huon Hooke, and this is The Real Review. The wine we're tasting today is Turkey Flat Vineyards Barossa Valley White 2019. So this wine we're tasting is a Marsanne-Roussanne blend. It used to be called the Butcher's Block. These days it's called Barossa Valley White, and has quite a reputation for quality and for aging well, and it's very good value for money at $25. The Turkey Flat Vineyard is one of the oldest in the Barossa. It's at least the original Turkey Flat Vineyard. 1847 was when the original planting was put in there beside the Tanunda Creek, just outside Tanunda in the little village of Bethany. And Marsanne and Roussanne, I believe, have been grown there since the very beginning, because the man who originally planted the vineyard was called Fiedler, and he was apparently a very experimental sort of guy, and he planted 72 different grape varieties on his little patch of grapes, which he probably called his garden, because all the early German-speaking settlers in the Barossa called their vineyards vine gardens. And so Marsanne and Roussanne were two of those varieties. The Schultz family own Turkey Flat Vineyards these days. They took over that vineyard in the very early days, so 1860s, not that long after it was established. And they've been growing these varieties ever since. They're more famous perhaps for their Shiraz and their Grenache and their blends, especially their Shiraz. But this wine, I think, is one of the great white wines of the Barossa. So, how does this wine taste? Let's pour a little into the glass here, and it's a nice new label on this wine these days with a beautiful design on the front. Tanunda Barossa Valley, established 1847, it says up on the label there. Let's have a taste. The wine has an appropriate colour, it's light yellow, and it's not looking particularly aged, of course, because it's still a young wine, 2 years of age. The first thing that I notice about this wine is the smoky note on the nose. It's very, very matchsticky. So there's that struck flint, almost an electrical fire kind of smell. Really, really interesting, and it adds an extra layer of complexity to the fruit. I think that's a pretty arresting kind of nose. Let's taste the one on the palate. Really good impact on the front of the palate. Really good intensity on the entry. Lively acidity drives it right from the beginning right through to the finish. It's compact and tightly constructed. A lot of Marsanne-Roussannes tend to be broad and a little bit fat, especially as they age, but this wine I think it's got terrific delicacy and refinement. It's tight. Even at 2 years age, it's still tight. Terrific length. Good lemony flavours to it, but other flavours as well. It's not just monodimensional lemony, it's quite interesting. Complexity of flavours, there's a bit of nuttiness to it. But the smoky thing that you notice on the nose doesn't really come through that strongly on the palate, which is pretty interesting, because I think that flavour can easily dominate the wine. It doesn't dominate this wine. The acidity is bright, it's refreshing, it has a really good drinkability to it. I think that wine is an appetizing wine that I'd like to have by itself or with food, no problem at all. How did we rate this wine? We scored it 92 out of 100, which is a good strong silver ribbon score. And we've said drink it now until 2026, which is 5 years hence, but I'm sure it will last for longer than that, but probably 5 years will get the best out of it. We've said, yeah, it's a really good example of what it is. And I think there should be more wines of that style in the Barossa Valley, frankly. So the food match, what would we serve with this? And we asked the winemaker Mark Bullman what he would like to serve with his Barossa Valley White. And he said char-grilled sardines served on buttered toast, richly buttered toasted bread. So lots of butter, lots of sardines, lots of flavour, and I reckon that would go very well indeed. Good health.